of these United States, Ted Cruz.
God bless the great state of Illinois. Good morning. What a blessing to be with Patriots this morning. Tim, thank you so much for your incredible leadership here in this state. Thank you to each of you for standing up and leading, for fighting for this country that we love so much. You know, you can tell a lot by a word, by examining its history, examining its roots. If you look at the roots of the word politics, there are two parts. Poly, meaning many, and ticks, meaning blood-sucking parasites. And that is a fairly accurate description of Washington, D.C. And yet we're here today for something a lot more important than politics. We're here today because our country's in crisis. Because we're bankrupting our kids and grandkids. Because our constitutional rights are under assault each and every day. And because America has receded from leadership in the world, and it's made the world a much more dangerous place. And yet I am here this morning with a word of hope and encouragement. All across the state of Illinois and all across this country, people are waking up. This election is going to focus on three key issues: jobs, freedom, and security. Let's talk about each of them. Let's start with jobs. Let me talk for a minute to all the single moms who are here, who are working 2 or 3 part-time jobs, who've had your hours forcibly reduced to 28, 29 hours a week because Obamacare kicks in at 30 hours a week. Let me talk to all the truck drivers, plumbers and electricians, mechanics, steel workers, all the union members, all the men and women with calluses on your hands, who've seen year after year your wages stagnating, never going up. Cost of living keeps going up, but somehow your paycheck doesn't seem to keep pace. Let me talk to all the young people. Coming out of school, you got student loans up to your eyeballs, and you're scared. Am I going to get a job? What does the future hold for me? Will I be able to provide for my family? And the media tries to tell us this is as good as it gets. Well, let me tell you, that is an absolute lie. You know, it's easy to talk about making America great again. You could even print that on a baseball cap. But the real question is, do you understand the principles and values that made America great in the first place? The heart of our economy is not Washington, D.C. The heart of our economy is small businesses all across the United States of America. If you want to kill the economy, do what we've done the last 7 years. Hammer the living daylights out of small businesses. And if you want to see the economy take off, then lift the boot of the federal government off the back of the necks of small businesses. If I'm elected president, we will repeal every word of Obamacare. We'll pass common sense health care reform that makes health insurance personal and portable and affordable and keeps government from getting in between us and our doctors. And we will pass a simple flat tax. Where every American can fill out our taxes on a postcard. And when we do that, we should abolish the IRS. We're going to rein in the EPA and the CFPB and the alphabet soup of federal agencies that have descended like locusts on small businesses, killing jobs all across this country. And we're going to stop amnesty and secure the borders and end sanctuary cities and end welfare benefits for those here illegally. And the result of all of this, we're going to see millions upon millions of high-paying jobs. We're going to see wages rising for everybody. We're going to see young people coming out of school having 2, 3, 4, 5 job opportunities. We'll see morning in America again, morning in America. The second critical issue in this election is freedom. You know, just a few weeks ago, with the passing of Justice Scalia, it underscored the stakes of this election. It is not just one, but 2 branches of the federal government that is at stake. We are one liberal justice away from a radical 5-justice liberal majority, the likes of which this country's never seen. We are one liberal justice away from the Supreme Court stripping away the religious liberty of every American. We are one liberal justice away from the Supreme Court effectively erasing the Second Amendment from the Bill of Rights. We are one liberal justice away from the Supreme Court making us subject to the authority of the World Court and the United Nations and international law and giving away U.S. sovereignty. Now, you know, a couple of debates ago, Hugh Hewitt asked all of us about religious liberty in the Supreme Court. And Donald Trump turned to me and he said, "Ted, I've known a lot more politicians than you have." Now, in that, he's right. Donald has been supporting liberal Democratic politicians for 40 years. I have no experience doing that. But Donald went on to say, "Ted, when it comes to Supreme Court justices, you got to be prepared to compromise. You got to negotiate with the Democrats and go along to get along." Well, let me be very, very clear to the men and women of Illinois. I will not compromise away your religious liberty. And I will not compromise away your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. third critical issue at stake in this election is security. For 7 years, we've seen an administration that abandons and alienates our friends and allies, and that shows weakness and appeasement to our enemies. Again, 2 debates ago, Donald Trump explained to all of us if he were president, he would be neutral between Israel and the Palestinians. Well, let me be very, very clear. As president, I will not be neutral. America will stand unapologetically with the nation of Israel. And you know, anybody who can't tell the difference, anyone who can't tell the difference between our friends and our enemies, anyone who can't tell the difference between Israel and Islamic terrorists who want to kill us, that raises real questions about their fitness and judgment to be commander-in-chief. For 7 years, we've seen our military weakened. We've seen our readiness undermined. We've seen morale of our troops plummeting. And you know what? As a country, we've seen this before. We've seen another left-wing Democratic president, Jimmy Carter, weaken and undermine the military. And in January 1981, Ronald Reagan came into office. Now, what did Reagan do? Reagan cut taxes, he lifted regulations, he lifted the burdens on small businesses. We saw millions of new jobs that generated trillions in new federal revenue, and he used that money to rebuild our military, and we bankrupted the Soviet Union and won the Cold War. I intend to do the exact same thing with radical Islamic terrorism. We're going to repeal Obamacare, pass a flat tax, lift the regulations. We're going to see small businesses explode, millions of high-paying jobs that'll generate trillions in new government revenue, and we will use that money to rebuild our military so it remains the mightiest fighting force on the face of the planet. No longer will our military be governed by political correctness. We'll have a commander-in-chief who stands up and says to the world, we will defeat radical Islamic terrorism. We'll have a president willing to utter the words, radical Islamic terrorism. And you know, one of the saddest aspects of the last 7 years has been this president sending our fighting men and women into combat with rules of engagement so strict that their arms are tied behind their backs, that they cannot fight, they cannot win, and they cannot defend themselves. That is wrong. It is immoral. And mark my words, in January 2017, it will end. America has always been reluctant to use military force. We are slow to anger. But if and when military force is needed, we should use overwhelming force, kill the enemy, and then get the heck out. So tomorrow is election day. Tomorrow, the people of Illinois get to speak to this whole country. And I got to tell you, Illinois, y'all are used to being neglected in Republican primaries. You're used to not having the attention you deserve, and even worse, you're used to suffering under failed left-wing Democratic policies. Well, this election is actually a real opportunity for the people of Illinois to stand up and have your say. And it's fairly remarkable because my leading opponent has been funding those failed Democratic policies that have been foisted on the people of Illinois. Rod Blagojevich. Donald Trump gave him $7,000. The Cook County Democratic Party, not exactly a bastion of integrity. Donald Trump gave them $12,500. Rahm Emanuel. Donald Trump gave him $50,000. Now help me on this. Have y'all ever had a moment when you're sitting at home and you just had this incredible urge to give $7 grand to Blago? Like, what's going through your mind? Just how rich are you that you got 50 grand and you're saying, gosh, I can think of nothing better to do than give this to Rahm Emanuel to really hammer the people of Chicago? What? What? Let me talk for a minute to the 65 to 70% of Republicans in Illinois and nationally who recognize Donald Trump is not the best candidate to go head-to-head with Hillary Clinton. If Donald is the nominee, Hillary wins. And if Hillary wins, we lose the Supreme Court for a generation, we lose the Bill of Rights, our kids are buried in debt, and their future is taken away. If you're one of those 65 or 70% of Republicans that recognizing nominating Donald Trump would be a disaster. Now, maybe you started a year ago supporting somebody else. Listen, this race, we had 17 candidates a year ago. It's a fantastic, diverse field, young, talented, dynamic. What a contrast with the Democrats. And yet, over the course of the year, the field is narrowed and narrowed and narrowed. That's what a primary does. And at this point, there is only one campaign that has repeatedly beaten Donald Trump and that can and will beat Donald Trump for this nomination. So maybe you're at home this morning and you started out this race supporting somebody else. You started out supporting Jeb Bush or Chris Christie. You started out supporting Rand Paul or Mike Huckabee. You started out supporting Carly Fiorina or Dr. Ben Carson. Or even now, you're thinking about supporting Marco Rubio or John Kasich. Listen, every one of those are good, honorable, decent people. They're people I like. They're people I respect. And yet at this point, none of them has any viable path whatsoever to being able to beat Donald Trump and become the Republican nominee. To do that takes 1,237 delegates. We've got right now 370. Donald has 90 more delegates than we do. Everyone else is way, way, way behind. So if you're sitting here thinking about tomorrow maybe voting for a Marco Rubio or a John Kasich, let me say to you, our campaign is the only campaign that has beaten Donald not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 9 different times all over this country. And so we welcome you to join us. If you don't want to see Donald Trump as the nominee, if you don't want to see Hillary Clinton as the president, then I ask you, come stand with us, stand united, and we welcome you with open arms as part of our team. Illinois has a powerful voice in this primary. Only if we use it. That is absolutely right. That if we stand together and stand united, there is a reason I am spending the entire day before Election Day in 5 stops all across the great state of Illinois. I want to ask everyone here this morning to come out tomorrow and vote for me 10 times. Now look, we're not Democrats. I'm not suggesting voter fraud. But if everyone here gets 9 other people to show up and vote tomorrow, you will have voted 10 times. That's how we win. That's how we win, friend to friend, neighbor to neighbor, pastor to pastor. Each of us picking up the phone and calling our friends, our family, our loved ones, and saying, this election matters. It matters for me, it matters for my kids, it matters for my grandkids. If we stand together, we're going to win this nomination and beat Donald Trump. We're going to win the general election and beat Hillary Clinton. And we're going to turn this country around. It took Jimmy Carter to give us Ronald Reagan. And I am convinced the most long-lasting legacy of Barack Obama is going to be a new generation of leaders in the Republican Party who stand and fight for liberty, who stand and fight for the Constitution, and who stand and fight for the Judeo-Christian values that built this great nation.